If you're one of the millions of people living with chronic pain, the idea of a personalized cream that targets pain right at the source, well, it sounds like a miracle, doesn't it? But how much do we really know about what's inside these jars? And here's the billion-dollar question: do they actually work?
To really get why these creams are so popular, you have to understand the problem we're up against. Chronic pain isn't just a personal battle. It is a massive national issue. We're talking $635 billion a year in the US alone. That's healthcare costs, lost wages, the whole shebang. It's a staggering figure that has everyone desperately searching for relief.
I mean, at this point, we all know the risks that come with oral pain medications like opioids. So it's no surprise that both patients and doctors are looking for other options. And these topical creams, they seem like the perfect answer. But this brings us to the two most important questions you can ask about any medicine. Are they safe, and do they work?
So first, let's just take a moment to appreciate the sheer scale of the pain epidemic we're dealing with.
The numbers here from the CDC are, well, they're just mind-blowing. We're talking about 50 million American adults. That's 1 in 5 people living with chronic pain. But here's the stat that really gets me. That second bar. Nearly 20 million of them are dealing with what's called high-impact chronic pain. That means it is so severe it completely messes up their ability to work and just live their lives.
So, with millions of people searching for a better answer, a new hope has emerged: personalized pain creams, custom-made for the individual.
This is all done through a process called compounding. Honestly, the best way to think about it is like your pharmacist is a personal chef for your medicine. They're literally mixing specific active ingredients into a cream or a gel, just for you. The whole idea is that you're getting a bespoke solution for your unique pain.
And you can immediately see why this is so appealing, right? You get a customized formula, you apply it exactly where it hurts, and you might get to dodge all those full-body systemic side effects that come with pills. For patients who can't tolerate standard drugs, it seems like a total game changer.
But here is where the story starts to get complicated. When you get a prescription for a common drug from a big manufacturer, you know it's gone through a really tough approval process. So, is the same true for these creams?
So how are these two types of medicine, the mass-produced pill versus the custom compounded cream, actually regulated? The answer might really surprise you.
Take a look at this chart. It shows two completely different paths to your medicine cabinet. That top path, that's for a typical FDA-approved drug. See all those stages? Development, clinical trials, review, approval. It takes years. Now look at the bottom path. That's for a compounded drug. It's a straight line from the pharmacy to the patient. It's a lot shorter.
And when you break it down side by side, the difference is just stark. FDA-approved drugs require clinical trials to prove they work. Compounded creams do not. They are not reviewed by the FDA for safety or for efficacy before they reach you. Now, this system was originally for really specific needs, like taking a dye out of an already approved pill for a patient who's allergic. It was never intended for creating entirely new, unproven drug combinations from scratch. They exist in a completely different regulatory universe.
So beyond regulation, there's another huge hurdle: the incredible scientific challenge of making a cream that can actually deliver medicine through your body's toughest barrier, your own skin.
This all comes down to something called formulation. Think of it like a recipe for a cake. You have your active ingredients, which are the drugs, and then you have your inactive ingredients, the base cream that's supposed to carry them. But getting that recipe right is anything but simple.
Yeah, because just like baking, every single step matters. The base you choose, the order you mix the ingredients in, even how long you mix them, all of it can completely change the final product. You get one step wrong and the drugs might not get absorbed at all, or they could get absorbed way too quickly.
As the experts who wrote this report put it, creating an effective cream with multiple drugs isn't just about following a recipe. It requires a deep understanding of chemistry. They call it a difficult balance of both art and science.
And it gets even harder when you're mixing multiple active drugs, which is super common in these pain creams. A base that works perfectly for one ingredient might completely block another. For example, a base with a certain pH might help the drug ketamine get absorbed, but it could make another drug like amitriptyline virtually useless in that exact same cream.
Okay, so we have a product that promises personalization, but it lacks FDA oversight, and it faces these huge scientific hurdles. All of this brings us back to our big question. What does the actual scientific evidence say about whether these creams work?
To find out, the report's authors conducted this massive search of all the scientific literature, starting with over 9,000 articles.
But just watch what happens as they filter for relevance and quality. That huge number just evaporates. For many of the most popular ingredients, they were left with just a handful of studies, and sometimes none at all.
And when you look at the actual findings for specific ingredients, a very clear and honestly disturbing pattern emerges. For ingredient after ingredient commonly used in these creams, the conclusion was the same. For the muscle relaxant baclofen, no relevant clinical trials. For orphanadrine, no relevant clinical studies. For nifedine and memantine, insufficient evidence or no clinical evidence for either safety or effectiveness when you put it on the skin.
So after looking at the crisis, the promise, the regulation, and the science, what's the bottom line here?
Let's just break it down into 4 key takeaways. First, chronic pain is a huge problem, and people are desperate for better solutions. Second, compounded creams offer an incredibly appealing promise of personalized relief. Third, and this is critical, these creams are not tested for safety or effectiveness the way standard drugs are. And finally, for many of the most common ingredients in these creams, there is a profound lack of high-quality scientific evidence to prove they are either safe or effective for pain when applied topically.
And that leaves us with this final, really challenging question. When you weigh the powerful promise of a treatment made just for you against the deep uncertainty of the scientific evidence, which side does the scale tip to? That is the medical mystery at the very heart of compounded pain creams.